Millions of workers in the U.S. are struggling to get a job. On paper, it shouldn't be like this.
Layoffs are easy to see. The hires that never happen are almost invisible. On paper, America's job market still did not look like a crisis. Unemployment was 4.2%, but hiring was slowing down. June added just 57,000 jobs, and May's earlier gain was revised down from 172,000 to 129,000.
And we are also the party of jobs, jobs, jobs. You see that?
But those numbers do not show how hard it has become to enter the market. Whether you are a recent graduate, a laid-off worker, or someone trying to escape a bad job, jobs are still being created. Unemployment is not at crisis levels, and AI is only part of the answer. The hidden weakness is movement. Hiring has slowed, quitting has slowed, and across the economy, firing has stayed relatively low. Together, these forces can make the market look stable, even as the door into it gets narrower. So why is it so hard to get hired in a strong job market?
The new jobs report just came in below expectations.
We're going to be having a heart attack now. 92,000 jobs lost during the month.
And capped the weakest year for job growth since the pandemic.
Massive layoffs, as many as 30,000 corporate job cuts.
Let's start with a company that, from the outside, seemed to have every reason to hire. In June 2026, Oracle reported a record financial year. Annual revenue reached $67.4 billion. Cloud revenue reached $34 billion. Both were growing quickly. But Oracle's reported global workforce moved in the opposite direction, from roughly 162,000 employees to about 141,000. That is a net decline of around 21,000 people in 1 year. That does not mean Oracle directly laid off all 21,000 people. Headcount can also fall through attrition, divestitures, and reconstructuring. And AI was only one factor. But the contradiction remains. The company grew. Its cloud business surged, but its workforce shrank. Oracle is not the whole economy, and this does not prove that every successful company is cutting staff. But it shows something important. A company can grow without expanding its permanent workforce. It can invest in data centers, software, automation, contractors, or a smaller group of experienced workers. In other words, it can produce more without adding many more people. For job seekers, that breaks an old assumption. When a business grows, hiring should grow with it. And Oracle is only one company. The problem becomes much larger when thousands of employers become more cautious about opening the next position. That caution hits anyone who needs the market to move. A recent graduate trying to get in, a laid-off worker trying to get back, or someone in a bad job trying to find a way out. For recent college graduates, the first step has become unusually difficult. In the first quarter of 2026, their unemployment rate was about 5.7%. Their underemployment rate was 41.5%, which means many were working in jobs that typically do not require a college degree.
So no degree, no worries though.
Not so. So essential workers and trades, they're earning great money. They are skipping student debt. They're getting hands-on experience. And guess what? Their jobs for the time being are not replaced with AI.
The problem is not only earning a paycheck. It is getting the experience that unlocks the second job. The same slowdown reaches people who already have jobs. In the New York Fed's May 2026 survey, respondents put the average chance of finding another job after losing their current one at 43.7%. That is not a forecast for any one person. It measures confidence, and confidence changes behavior. When people doubt they could find another job, they become less willing to leave the one they have. That helps explain a cycle many job seekers describe. Apply, wait, complete an assessment, wait again, and hear nothing. Those accounts do not measure the whole economy. They show what a slow-moving market feels like at the door. And the reason those numbers can miss that experience is simple. They are measuring a different part of the system. Picture a building with 100 people inside. If almost no one enters or leaves, the building can still look full. From the outside, it appears stable, but the doors have nearly stopped moving. The number of people inside tells us one thing. The doors tell us something else. They show how often people are entering and leaving. In the job market, that movement means hiring, quitting, and layoffs. The unemployment rate measures a different part of the picture. It tells us what share of the labor force is out of work and actively looking for a job, but it does not show how quickly employers are hiring or how often workers are changing jobs, and it cannot tell one applicant how long the wait may be. Job openings add another piece of the picture, but they still do not tell us whether anyone was actually hired. An opening shows that an employer intends to fill a role. A hire shows that someone actually got the job. When we focus on actual hires, the market looks very different. The Federal Reserve has a name for this pattern: low hire, low fire.
The labor market broadly can be characterized as low hire, low fire.
Layoffs remain relatively low across the economy. Hiring is low too. Low firing can protect many people who already have jobs. Low hiring makes it harder for anyone trying to enter, return, or move on. And once hiring and quitting both slow, the slowdown can start reinforcing itself. That feedback loop begins with the employer. When a company is unsure about demand, costs, or what comes next, a permanent hire feels risky. A permanent hire costs more than a salary. It also means benefits, training, management time, and the cost of being wrong. So the company looks for ways to delay that commitment. It can leave the role unfilled. It can spread the work across the current team. It can use temporary help. Or it can wait for someone who has already done the exact job. None of these choices create a layoff headline. Often, it is simply one role that is never created or never filled. Workers become cautious too. When another job looks hard to find, they stay where they are. That lowers their own risk. But it also means fewer people leave and fewer replacement roles open. The Federal Reserve's June report said workers were increasingly reluctant to change jobs. Hiring remained selective, focused mainly on critical roles or replacing people who had left. The April data puts numbers on that pattern. Employers recorded 5.1 million hires. Workers quit 3 million jobs. Layoffs and discharges totaled 1.7 million. The corresponding rates were 3.2% for hires, 1.9% for quits, and 1.1% for layoffs and discharges. 1 month does not define the entire market, but together, those figures fit the low hire, low fire pattern the Fed described. So the loop tightens. Fewer people leave. Fewer replacement jobs appear. That can leave more applicants competing for each hire. That gives employers more room to be selective. The result can be longer interview chains, stricter experience requirements, and more screening. Those problems do not cause the slowdown. They are how the slowdown shows up in the hiring process. People with jobs can feel protected. People searching can feel invisible. And the same system creates both experiences. That creates an obvious question. If hiring has slowed this much, why is unemployment still holding steady? The first reason is low firing. When layoffs stay low, fewer people enter unemployment at once. The second reason is less visible. The labor force itself is barely growing. Federal Reserve researchers estimate that in 2026, fewer than 10,000 new jobs a month could be enough to keep unemployment steady. That estimate depends on immigration, population growth, and how many people are working or looking for work. It is not a fixed rule. But under these conditions, unemployment can stay steady with far fewer new jobs than many people expect.
The quits rate, a measure of how often workers voluntarily leave their jobs, is now down to about 2% after fluctuating in the years since the pandemic.
That explains why the headline remains calm. Still, weak hiring is not harmless, and the evidence does not support a total collapse. Millions of people are still hired each month. Some industries are expanding. Many workers still find jobs. The doors have not disappeared. They open less often, and not equally across industries, places, or experience levels. The cost of waiting falls hardest on anyone who needs to move. That is less dramatic than saying the job market has collapsed. It is also closer to the evidence. So if this is not a conventional firing crisis, why are employers so reluctant to hire the next person? The most obvious answer is AI, and there is real evidence behind it. companies are reorganizing teams around new tools. Some routine tasks can be automated. Some firms say they need fewer people for certain kinds of work. In May, Challenger counted about 38,600 announced job cuts that employers attributed to AI. That shows the technology is shaping company decisions. But the figure does not prove AI was the sole cause of every cut. The number reflects what companies announced, not how many layoffs had actually been completed. Employers may also be responding to weak demand, earlier overhiring, investor pressure, or a broader restructuring. The broader data are less dramatic. A New York Fed study found fewer job postings in occupations more exposed to AI, but that decline began before ChatGPT, and it did not clearly accelerate after ChatGPT was released. So far, AI does not explain the entire national hiring slowdown. The more important effect may be the job that never gets posted. If software can handle part of a junior role, a company may keep one experienced employee and skip the trainee. If the current team can produce more, management may postpone the next hire. And if executives expect more automation soon, they may avoid adding permanent staff. Remote work can add pressure at the same point. A New York Fed study estimated that remote work could explain nearly 2/3 of the recent rise in unemployment among young college graduates. That finding is specific to young graduates. It does not explain the national slowdown by itself, but it points to a training problem. Junior workers need observation, feedback, repetition, and mentoring before they can work independently. When teams are distributed, that training becomes harder. And when routine junior tasks can also be automated, some employers may see even less reason to make that investment. AI is not the single cause of weak hiring. It is an amplifier. It can make it easier to delay a hire, redesign a team, or demand more experience from new candidates. And that pressure falls hardest on people trying to start their careers. That pressure changes what an entry-level job is supposed to do. It is not only a paycheck. It is where a new worker gains experience. A beginner often starts with lower pay and limited responsibility. The employer provides training and time to learn. Over time, that worker can handle harder work. When companies stop making that investment, one path into a career begins to disappear. In the short term, an employer may prefer someone who can do the job immediately or decide not to hire anyone yet. For the applicant, that creates a painful trap. You need experience to get a job that is supposed to give you experience. A graduate can have a degree, an internship, and a strong portfolio, and still compete with someone who has already done the exact same job. A laid-off worker can face the same barrier from another direction. They may have years of experience, but not in the exact industry or tools an employer wants. This also explains why growth in one part of the economy does not automatically help workers displaced somewhere else. A healthcare opening does not automatically fit a software engineer. A construction job does not automatically fit a financial analyst. The labor market is not one market. It is many smaller ones, separated by skills, credentials, location, and experience. When hiring slows, employers can become more selective. They can wait for someone whose experience fits the role more closely. That makes it harder for workers to move into a different industry or type of job, and the problem can grow over time.
How many jobs have you applied for?
I don't even know. I might have applied to over 50 by now, maybe more.
If companies train fewer beginners today, there may be fewer experienced workers tomorrow, but applicants are already paying the price. They cannot get the chance to start or restart their careers. The damage does not stop with people trying to enter or return. When there are fewer jobs available elsewhere, even people who already have jobs feel the effects. When finding another job feels uncertain, leaving a bad manager becomes harder. Moving to a new city becomes riskier. Negotiating pay becomes more difficult when you have fewer alternatives. A job that once felt temporary can become one you are afraid to leave. To an employer, low quitting can look like a sign that workers want to stay. Sometimes, it may simply mean the alternatives look worse. Not everyone feels trapped, and the quits rate cannot tell us why any one person stayed. Whatever the reason, fewer departures mean fewer replacement jobs. That leaves fewer jobs available elsewhere and gives other workers even less reason to leave. Employers gain more choice. Workers have less leverage and fewer options. So the real divide is not simply employed versus unemployed. It is between people who can stay put and people who need another option. Graduates need a way in. Laid-off workers need a way back. Employees need alternatives if they want to bargain, advance, relocate, or leave. The market can look stable, while all three lose room to move. And the unemployment rate may not reveal that loss until many more people need a new job at the same time. That is the hidden risk in a low-hire, low-fire market. As long as layoffs stay low, the weakness can remain hidden. If layoffs rise, many more people would be looking for work in a market that is already hiring slowly. Federal Reserve officials have warned that this delicate balance is vulnerable to negative shocks. So the problem is not that the job market has already collapsed. It is that the current stability is more fragile than the headline suggests, and that changes what job security means. Security is not only having a job today, it is knowing that you can find another one if that job disappears. So the real test of a job market is not whether it can keep people where they are. It is whether it can help them move when they need to.